Hi there everyone, welcome back to On the Flip Side. We've got new studio lights, so that's pretty cool. Big thanks to Mr. Chad Zimmerman for giving me some pointers for this setup. Anyway, welcome back to the show. My name is Adam Shawwalker, your host, and today we're going to be checking out this new album from Sylvan Esso, No Rules Sandy. This is the fourth studio album for this pop duo and one of their most bold projects to date. Their self-titled debut, as well as What Now, and their last release, Free Love, all fit pretty comfortably in the conventional frame of modern pop. And there are definitely some moments on those albums where some of the less typical spots of experimentation do shine through, especially on their last album, Free Love, where they pull a lot from this very Imogen Heap style sound for many of the tracks on that project. But what I appreciate here so much is that they have been making more of these steps the further they have progressed into their career. No Rules Sandy is not an inaccessible album. It's not experimental to the point of it being hard to get. It clicks really easily. But it does immediately come across as an album with competent and creative writing, blended with surefire bets and tested formulas. And even during moments where the album may take an odd step, the sound shifts to accommodate in a way that just makes sense. And it does become pretty apparent when that kind of shift happens because of this album's very stripped back production, namely on the track Look at Me, which initially I wasn't very impressed with, but after more listens, I'm really enjoying the way that they've wrapped the track around the vocals. And I mean, like, it's a very focused and personal feeling track, like you've been put in very intimate proximity to Amelia Meath, the singer here, and she's getting like right in your face. And I don't mean in like an intimidating way, it just kind of puts you off your guard. It's really interesting because the delivery isn't exceptionally heated or impassioned, but it kind of just almost works as like a blanket for your ears. I'm also really loving the tracks that take this more subtle sound and bring it back to a more traditional, more poppy vibe, because they start to sound like some IDM tracks like Boards of Canada or maybe Aphex Twin. Songs like Echo Party or How Did You Know or Alarm all hit on that IDM wave. It's really fresh to hear in this kind of context too. I don't feel like I've really seen this style utilized like this very often, but in any case here, it's really well done. I'm also really impressed by the way these interlude tracks have been handled. There's been just so many albums this year that I have listened to that have had like interlude tracks that have been utterly just wasted, total washes, tracks that have turned albums into complete slogs with their inclusion. But what's here as far as interludes are quick and to the point and really only add to the tracks that they're accompanying. I do also really appreciate the way that this album has been paced, with the first half and second half feeling like they've been built to kind of specifically complement each other, especially when it comes to the track lengths. Everything is pretty evenly dispersed. One thing I thought was pretty interesting was that the title track for this album, No Rules Sandy, is one of the interlude tracks, which I personally think is kind of an interesting choice, but hey, it's a risk and I'm here for it. And I think that the way that track, No Rules Sandy, leads into the final song, Coming Back to You, adds to the effect of that final song. That effect being, after this very clean, heavily IDM influenced album, we get this quiet singer with a guitar track with some very light harmonizer effects over the vocals. And all of those elements come together for this final song for a really blissfully melancholy track of longing and loss. It is just so unashamedly pretty, and I'm just loving this track. Yeah, they really nailed the finale for this album just so hard. As for the other tracks here that I'm really enjoying, I've already mentioned a couple, but I'm a big fan of Alarm, especially as it's the last track on the album to run with the poppy sound. There's also a really cool driving synth that feels like they're kind of maybe drawing inspiration from a lot of like late 90s house, like Daft Punk or maybe some Fatboy Slim. Really enjoyed Echo Party for very similar reasons. Sunburn really feels like something off of Selected Ambient Works. Big fan of the beat there. I also really like the intro track, Moving, which really feels a lot more chaotic. It's very reminiscent of like a lot of modern Nine Inch Nails stuff, or maybe even like some Andy Morin style production. As for tracks that didn't land as well for me, there's nothing that I outright hated on this album like at all. There was maybe a couple of times though where I kind of lost focus or became a little bit less interested, like Your Reality or Didn't Care, which are fine tracks that I just think in comparison to maybe some of the other songs on this project are kind of just okay. And this album really grew on me with every listen, which is not something that's happened super often. I think I may be maxing out my appreciation soon, but I do really think that this is at least a worthwhile listen, a worthwhile album, and a very fresh listen that most of you guys should check out. I think No Rules Sandy is a very good 8. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of this album in the comments below, and remember to like and subscribe and check out my Instagram, my Reverb, and my Depop. Links to those are all in the description below. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you on the flip side.